First question being, who are you? We're going to discuss this more. Second question being, who are you becoming? And third question being, who do you want to be? And I love kind of like. All right, we are now on episode 6 recap. And gosh, this was one of my favorites because it's habits, right?
Visibly.
Now, but is that losing its luster? Because I do say this is one of my favorites all the time, and
No.
you're like, okay, this is
No, it's not. It's warranted.
okay, cool. Well, I'm excited about this one because this is where I even remember you just saying specifically on things about like when we got to routines, how things just clicked a little bit more for you. So I want you to talk about that. But I just want to hear just this whole world of habit building. I mean, we talk about sustainability, how you sustain your habit long term, sending your habits to college. So in that session, we really unpacked it and show the value in it and how your habits are going to support your goals and the projects you do. So how do you feel about that? What did you learn since you've been thinking through it?
So I think, and probably like one of the subtle undertones that's really important too is this dichotomy of healthy and unhealthy habits. Like it sounds extremely trivial, but understanding the benefits of healthy habits and then what impacts unhealthy habits can have on your entire schedule, your entire routine, your entire day, life is important. I think it's probably one of like the best call outs in the episode. And then the life cycle of building a habit is really special. And you can't watch any episode without us touching on these concepts of creativity and boredom and monotony. There's so many levels to a habit that make it special, but also make it really difficult. You got to want it.
Mm-hmm. You gotta want it. That is a great way to say it. So when you think about your day now, I mean, you have tested a lot of habits. I remember we even talked a little bit about, I showed you, here are all the habits you're working on, and you made some adjustments. So how has it been in just tweaking habits in your life when you think about more of a sustainable?
Yeah, and I'm going to reference some of episode 5 too, but activation energy is really important. I have continuously moved things that are more challenging for me, despite them not being difficult acts. They're difficult from an activation energy perspective because it's not part of like my character and it doesn't necessarily align. So like working on being more present and meditating is something I'm not good at. So to make room for it in my day, it's something that I've literally moved up to one of the first things I do as soon as I open my eyes. And same goes for reading. I used to think that it'd be good to wind down and read at the end of the day, which turned into just never prioritizing it. Regardless of not having anything else to do, my energy levels and the process of reading versus the alternatives, it's just difficult. So the concept of a routine too, and I think this is like another thing, like just underscore. There's a lot of things in your life that can work really well together, but it's not always what you think or what works well for others. I think all of my routines now are really unconventional. There's a theme to me in my life, but it wouldn't work with anybody else's life. So when I do certain things and why I do certain things are really the premise of why it's part of a specific routine, despite being very different acts that are all built into those routines. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I want you to speak to that really quick because this is something that is kind of like, it's not a pet peeve, but I do know when people look at successful people, what do you do? And then here's my morning, right? And sometimes people want to just take that and put it into their morning. But you mentioned how like it's not going to work for everybody. This is what worked for me. So how did you figure that out? How did you figure out what worked for you, and maybe some advice for other people who are trying to figure that out themselves?
Starting, again, you got to know who you want to be, right? So meditation is the one I love to use because it's really difficult for me to see the benefits. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a long fuse and big bang, but the process of meditating, for me, there's so many things that actually went into me having a successful meditation session, and one of which I learned was a brain dump was needed. I was always trying to meditate as like after my workout or after the sauna or after just really interesting activities where you would just think, okay, let me pause and reflect for 10 minutes. I realized that I had to get everything out of my head. So like journaling, then meditating. Mm. So like I never put that together until I literally showed Ike this in my notebook. I had like 4 columns and I put different arrangements of all of the things that I wanted to develop a rhythm for, and randomly ended up moving meditation up to one of the first things I did before my mind got crazy, right? And I think it's also led to me building more sanity and calmness and patience and being present into the rest of my day too. So it was really just trial and error, but I think it's also just making sure that something's important enough for you.
Gosh, I love that. I love how you said trial and error. I love how you mentioned who you want to be. And I don't want to discount. I mean, there's some habits that people have who are uber successful, right, in our minds that are incredible. But it's so interesting how we sometimes want to translate those things in our life and expect that same success. And it doesn't work like that. And when it comes to habit building, you have to build it because you really want to, and you believe that habit is going to impact your life in a big way.
You know, something else, and not actually in the episode, but I thought it was really special. And you've actually talked about this throughout the entire coaching series about consistency, but also giving yourself grace that you're not going to be there 100% of the time. But your habits and your routines should allow you to perform better. But if you miss a habit or routine, it shouldn't ruin your entire day either. I think that's something that is really important for people, like as they're working through this process. I missed meditating, I missed stretching, I missed workouts, I missed runs. It's okay. It's okay. You know, shoot for 80%. If you start getting below 80%, then maybe you have to figure out how to switch up the routine, and again, just revisit if it's actually that important to who you're trying to become.
So you're telling me you can still thrive in your life and miss stuff?
I'm working on it.
But that is good, and that's one reason why I show people a lot. Here's where I'm at, because there's an assumption like, oh, he does this every day. When I say I do it consistently, that does not mean I do it every day. That means I do it consistently, and I just try to be over 80%, and that's not even, some months I will be low, but then I look past the month, I think about the quarter. If the quarter's still low, I look at the year. So, man, there's so much room to make up on things, you know, as time goes on. But we like to think in the day, like, oh, I failed today, so I'm a failure. It's like, no, you just failed today, and there's room to grow. So that's really cool. So I love how you kind of took this habit building process and like really took off with it. Is there anything that you want to like do to sum up that whole time together?
I think it's really important. I think I'm getting ahead of us, but I'm going to put it out here. But I think remembering that your habits should align to your goals, and your goals are going to have a number of different priorities. And so trying to figure out what things are going to be reoccurring and what the best way is to ultimately remove them from being a priority, and looking at the entire spectrum of ultimately becoming the person you're trying to become while accomplishing your goals, having the right habits and routines, and prioritizing your day. The entire thing fits together in a really special way, and there's a really specific spot for each of those things that you're doing in a daily basis. So I think there's an acknowledgement of sorts that needs to happen with all the different things that everybody's doing, Some of those are going to be projects, challenges, habits, tasks, priorities. You have to make sense of it all. And that starts with acknowledging all the different pieces that are going into your days.
It's really good. So you can't just check the box.
This was the worst part about the coaching session, is finding out that that was not the case.
Man, I hope you guys heard that, because that's so true. It's, you're figuring it out as you're going, and it's complex, but it's also like, this is not that hard to do, but it's still complex, and I'm trying to figure out how things fit, and it's a fun journey. So that was awesome, Steven. Okay, we're going to go to 7.
Who are you? We're going to discuss this more. Second question being, who are you becoming? And third question being, who do you want to be?